Hi, I'd like to welcome you to the Sykes and Company PA Trade Show Recap 2017, featuring Ollin Sykes and Scotty Sykes. We'll be taking questions throughout, so feel free to use the question pane of your GoToWebinar control panel to ask questions, and Ollin and Scotty will get to those as they can, and if there are any remaining, obviously, those will be addressed at the end of the webinar. So thank you for joining us, and over to you, Ollin.
Thank you very much, Rachel. We appreciate everybody being with us this afternoon, early afternoon on the East Coast. Our attempt here today is to provide you somewhat of an overview of some of our observations from this summer's trade shows. We've attended about every major trade show this past summer and have learned a lot of things from the trade shows, not only from the vendors, but from a lot of our existing clients as well as non-pharmacy clients. And we thought would be a good idea to share some of those ideas and thoughts with you, as it ties directly into what we do here at the firm. And our firm primarily provides cloud accounting services and tax mitigation and tax compliance services for pharmacies only. So with that said, I'll hand it over to Scotty.
All right. So we'll just dive right in here. So here's a list of the trade shows we attended this year. The PDS Conference, Pioneer, Value Drug, McKesson, Amerisource, Cardinal, Mutual, and we will be going to the NCPA. We also do several NCPA ownership workshops for pharmacists looking to buy a pharmacy. And we speak at a lot of these shows, so and we'll speak on various accounting topics for pharmacies, so definitely check us out going forward. So why trade shows? Why are they important? Why should you be paying attention and going to these? First of all, you get to see what's going on in the industry. You get to build some relationships. You get to meet people. You get to see what's new, what's different, what are you not doing, what could you be doing better. So I know a lot of people may go to the trade shows and look for, oh, you know, we're going to go sightsee and all that, but also it's very important to make sure you are engaged in the trade show and you're actually going to you know, learn all you can. With the new products and technologies that are available, there's just countless opportunities there to learn and see what's new in this space. And it also allows you to meet the vendors. If you're working with these vendors, you can go to their booth, you can talk to them, you can ask questions, tell them your concerns or what you like about maybe their product, and just get a feel for you know, what it is they're doing or could be doing better. Like I said, it's going to allow you to see the current state of the pharmacy industry. Where is the industry as a whole on a macro basis? Where is it going? So it's going to open your eyes, so to speak, on what it is where the pharmacy industry is and where it is heading, and what you maybe need to do or implement to take advantage of those opportunities and to grow your pharmacy and to stay relevant in the industry. And you're also going to be able to see what others are doing successfully. You're going to meet your peers. You're going to meet those vendors out there that are that may be doing some things differently. So you'll definitely learn some new things there. But these are things you need to, of course, continuing education is also in there. But these are things you just need to go to these trade shows with that open mind and be prepared to learn all you can, because there is a lot out there. Here's some of the top trends we've noticed for 2017. Among many of them, here's the top ones. Data mining has been a big trend this year, starting last year, especially into 2017. It has had a dramatic impact on pharmacies. There are vendors out there that are helping facilitate this data mining process with filling scripts. But the margin impact is significant. The impact on pharmacists' bottom lines is significant. And ultimately, hopefully, this trend is one that continues and the PBMs don't catch on to it or what have you. But this trend has had a big impact thus far this year that we are seeing. Ollin, do you want to comment on anything?
I sure do. I can tell you that the data mining that we've been seeing in the last year and a half, 2 years in particular, has probably had more of an influence on a positive basis on what we're seeing on gross margins and cash flow in pharmacies than any one event that I can think of in recent years. If you're not familiar with what we're talking about, I would suggest you probably want to talk to your peers. Again, attend trade shows, talk to some of the vendors that are offering some of these products. We're vendor agnostic, but there are some vendors in the field that are providing certain proprietary softwares and information and training with respect to this. I will also say at the same time, there are those on the legal end that have concerns over some of this process. And it's something you may want to talk with your legal advisors about. There are some things being done in this particular area that may be pushing the envelope, yet there are other things that are very normal and consistent, but essentially it's taking an NDC code that may be particularly paying a higher margin in one particular drug, and if it has equal to or better care for the patient, trying to convince the prescribers to fill that particular script. And in some cases, these margins are substantially different. Thousands and thousands of dollars of difference versus maybe a $10 copay type of situation. So we're not talking about something here that's minute. We're talking about something that's potentially earth-changing, and it's just something that you need to be aware and cognizant of if you're not already. And while I'm on the topic, let me just tie into the inventory management situation. We here at Sykes & Company, PA, are constantly struggling to make sure that our pharmacies have complete control over their inventory, what's taking place there, and hopefully pushing for perpetual inventory systems tied in with your script systems with periodic cycle counts. The more accurate your inventory is, the more accurate your financial statements can be adjusted on a monthly basis. And if you don't have these items in play, and there are also some third-party softwares that can help increase turnovers in the inventory area. The typical turnover for pharmacies in 11 to 12 times a year range, yet we've got some pharmacies turning inventory over 20 times a year. So there are people making very good efforts in this particular area, increasing cash flow, in some cases increasing margin, but definitely having much better control over their balance sheet and cash flow with respect to this. That ties in also to third-party account reconciliation. There's been a lot of changes in this particular area last couple of years by a lot of the vendors. There are many vendors in the marketplace here, some more preferred than others with respect to some of the wholesalers. I know in Cardinal's particular case, in the lead of that system, they pushed everybody off to essentially FDS earlier this spring. FDS typically is what we see mostly with AmeriSource clients. But we're seeing kind of the leadership being taken up by FDS, and the only reason I mentioned this particular vendor is they are what we can see taking the leadership in this area. We might want to add here that just because you have a third-party reconciliation system, and hopefully if you do, you've got the concierge system where they're coming in reconciling claims above certain amounts that you can set and determine, you still have to manage these systems daily, weekly, and monthly. And Scotty, I'm going to let you talk about that a little bit because I know this is a very hot topic. Because we have a lot of pharmacies that will tie into a particular third-party reconciliation system, and then they say, well, I don't have to worry about that because I'm paying them to do it.
Yep. Definitely, first of all, you should certainly have a third-party reconciliation service. Hopefully you have one. Once you put that into place, if say, for example, it is FDS, you do want to get that premium service where they are chasing claims that are over $10, $15, whatever level you set. But you definitely need to be making sure that you're going in there, you're managing that system, either you or a pharmacist or a tech or someone is going on in that system on a periodic basis, reviewing claims, seeing what is outstanding over 60 days. Why are you not getting paid? It could be as simple as a couple changes to get paid from 60 days down to 15, 20 days. I've seen that with pharmacists before. So it does need your attention. Furthermore, when you do get any paper checks, still there's a few out there that do paper checks, you have to make sure those 835s are getting checked off in that reconciliation system. If they are not, your third-party reconciliation system will sit there and tell you that it's still outstanding when in fact you have actually gotten paid. So your receivable party that's due to you, your third party receivable that's due to you at the end of the month, for example, would be overstated in that case. So you'd be reporting more revenues than actually you should. So you just need to be aware of that system. Read the best practice guideline. They all have one with the system, and just and making an effort or make a procedure in your pharmacy or a policy on how you can manage that system. You can't just put it in and forget about it. And that goes for inventory management as well. You know, if you've got the your script system in place and it has the perpetual inventory capability, which I hope it does. You want to make sure that you know your price codes are what they need to be as far as your cost in that system when you're purchasing drugs. When you're downloading that daily data from price data from Cardinal or whomever it may be, you want to make sure that it's not overriding your price data for drugs you may have purchased outside of Cardinal, maybe ANDA, for example. So when you pull that when you pull that inventory report at the end of each month to help tie in your financial statements, you know you're going to have a pretty solid inventory there. And another best practice just to throw in there is to make sure you are doing those cycle counts. I know some of the script systems and vendors allow you to, they have tools that you can help with the cycle counts. So, and tie that into the system. So just, it's critical that you have a handle on your inventory, you have a handle on third-party receivables, because that's a lot of money that's owed to you. And Ollin said, you know, the typical turnover for pharmacies is 10 to 12 range turns a year, and that's pretty poor. You know, there's really no excuse to be at that level. You want to be 16 to 20 turns at least a year. So you should be focusing on that. Inventory is very crucial. It's going to push you to be a better manager in your pharmacy and better just control what's going on in your store and ultimately lead to a better bottom line. And so those are just a few things on those two very important trends there.
Yeah, and let me just add one other thing. On that daily download of price acquisition information, some script systems have the capability to block if you're buying outside from, let's say, a generic house, you're getting a lower price than one of your main wholesalers. Some script systems have the capability of blocking an overriding process from your main wholesaler. Because if you're buying $100 a bottle in one place versus $60 from an outside place, and if the prices are overridden by your main wholesaler, $100 a bottle, it's going to overinflate your inventory. So overinflate your inventory cost. So you want to make sure your system ties that down. I know Pioneer does tie those systems down. Some of the other systems do, some of them do not. You might want to check into that, because that's very important. And again, in tying down inventory and third-party receivables, because if those two items are not tied down and your accounts payable are not tied down and your bank accounts are not reconciled monthly, you cannot get realistic monthly numbers. This kind of leads us into technology, because all the technology that is in the pharmacy industry today is just massive. Whether it's robots, whether it's pill counters, whether it's packaging, adherence, whatever the case may be, includes software that is optimizing some of these processes, like inventory management, that maybe a data rhythm product might do. And by the way, we're vendor agnostic here. We have no conflicts of interest with any vendors. We just mention these names because these are things that we see in the marketplace. But the technology just amazes me. In fact, I know at the Cardinal show this past month, maybe late July, I saw some new technology that I didn't have a time to dive into that I hadn't seen previously. So it just, every show we go to seems like somebody else has figured out some way of doing something more precise, more efficient. And it's so critical, because outside your cost of goods sold, which is to say how well you are buying, is the single most important thing you can do to control your profitability and your gross margins. The second most important thing you can do at the pharmacy level is control your direct gross payroll as a percentage of total revenue. I will tell you that high-performing pharmacies have payroll under 10% of gross accrued revenue. We have many pharmacies come to us that are 13, 14, 15, 16% and wondering why they're having cash flow issues. They're spending time on other areas on their P&L that really aren't dollar material, and then they don't spend time refining their payroll. And you can partly refine your payroll by using some of these robotic measures and systems that are in place to keep your costs under control and maximize your profitability. So at the next show that you attend, you want to make sure you're taking a look at what all is out there, because some of it is advertised through some of the pharmacy periodicals, and then some of it is rolled out at the major shows. And I know, like the NCPA coming up here in about a month in Orlando, and I hope they'll have electricity back by then. There'll probably be everything you can imagine at that one trade show within the industry. So you just want to make sure you understand what's out there and you analyze on a cost return basis what adding technology does to you from an economic perspective, what it does to you from a tax perspective, and hopefully there'll be major changes coming along sooner that'll help even in that process. Although right now you can write off very liberally equipment that's being bought if you're profitable. There's just a lot of things there you need to review. And Scotty, I'll pass it back to you.
Sure. Yes, definitely technology is a hot trend, and it's going to continue to, that trend's not going to go backwards. That trend is moving forward. It's moving forward fast. So
yes,
you definitely want to be on board with technology and learning all you can about how you can implement technologies and how it can help your pharmacy for sure. Which leads us into pharmacy-specific professionals. Certainly, you know, pharmacy is a world of its own. The industry is constantly changing. It's a difficult industry to operate in. So you definitely want to make sure you have professionals on your side that understand pharmacy and have experience in pharmacy. It's not for anybody who just walks off the street, for sure. And that includes maybe bankers. Live Oak Bank does pharmacy-specific lending. There's lawyers that do specific work with pharmacies, community pharmacies, and DME, and they have, you know, they can have 10 people in their division just on pharmacy law. So it's, you know, you can see the complexity there. That would also include maybe insurance agents or accountants. You know, we're accountants, and all we do is pharmacy. So we're a team of 40 people here, and all we do is pharmacy, and it takes every one of us talking to clients every single day, pharmacy clients every single day, to stay up to date with the industry, what's going on. We visit these trade shows. We try to speak the language. We're not behind the bench, but you know, it's difficult even for us, and we're a team of 40 pharmacy accountants. So definitely having these professionals on your side who know this industry can pay dividends if you allow it to. Okay. So, you know, when we go to these trade shows, our goals are not only to learn about the industry, learn about new vendors, new technologies. You know, we're there also for our clients as well. We're going to you know, build those relationships with the vendors. So when a client comes to us with issues or concerns, we're able to then relay that concern to a vendor. We try to make contacts with the folks that make the decisions at these vendors, so we can get the attention for our clients that they need. Again, we're looking at new products and technologies. We're going there with an open mind to learn all we can as well, just like you are when you go to these trade shows. We're looking for the current state of that pharmacy industry, you know, and where's it going? Where's it going to be in 5 to 10 years? We also go and speak. We do a lot of speaking engagements all over. Definitely come check us out there. We cover everything accounting for a pharmacy. So definitely something you may be able to learn there. And again, we're learning all we can to help our clients. So we have.
I just want to add just a couple things here. Just kind of bouncing around on a couple things. 340B, we're very much involved with many clients who have 340B programs. There's some better software systems out there than others. If you're looking at a 340B contract, you need to remember, if you're getting that contract from a hospital or a 501c3, medical clinic, you need to have somebody review that contract that understands what's in that contract. We see many pharmacies that just go ahead and sign it, and they don't understand that they're responsible for DR fees, adjudication costs, or other things. They may be responsible for inventory. They may not be responsible. There's some best practices for that, and you need to be talking to people that understand that. And I can assure you that the hospital group that's providing you a 340B contract probably has somebody that has written that contract not to your advantage. So if you're just willy-nilly signing that, you're probably creating some issues, some mistake. Also, there's some technologies out there in the marketplace that are very aggressively now allowing for the wholesale acquisition on 45-day terms with rebates paid at 15 days after a month in. Just mentioned one name, RX Cherry Pick is one we hear in the marketplace. I know some people have issues with some outlying groups that are not main players. Also, buying groups, if you're not a participant in a buying group with a wholesaler, you probably are paying way too much for your cost of goods sold. You might also, and I'm bouncing here very quickly because I don't want to tie you guys up for too long today, about retirement plans. If you're looking at retirement plans, keep in mind that a 401k safe harbor has to be in place by October 1st of the current year, next 2 weeks coming up, in order to put it into effect for this year. So if that's something you're looking at, you've got just a few weeks to take a serious look at that. We've discussed very quickly the data mining perpetual inventory. I can't tell you re-emphasize enough what Scotty mentioned about the Pharmacy Pacific banks. The Pharmacy Pacific banks understand this industry inside and out, and your local community banks or regional banks don't understand the cash flow model of what a pharmacy is. And if you're trying to get a line of credit or term financing from a bank, and all they want to know is about receivables and collateral, you're probably going down the wrong path there. You need to be very careful and analyze that and be aware that there are folks out there that understand this industry very much so. Obviously, expansion of clinical services and use of pharmacy as healthcare providers are huge in some states now, as is telepharmacy in some states. There are a lot of information and valuable insights you can pick up at the trade shows with respect to these items, the awareness of mail order, and educating your parents of when it's not in their best case, perhaps, to be a part of that. And immunization programs far and above the flu shots, whether you get into shingles or pneumonia or travel vaccines, there are very specialty programs that are available at a lot of these trade shows on that type of thing. And obviously MedSync, which we haven't said a lot about. Obviously, if you're not MedSyncing 60, 70, 80% of your patients probably right now, you are probably creating too much inventory in yourself and not optimizing your situation. And I'm going to stop right there. I see there's already a question about the salary situation.
I just want to chime in. You touched on a lot of these, but certainly revenue diversification is a hot trend, and that's picking up. And you've mentioned that with immunizations or what have you, compounding, et cetera. So definitely revenue diversification, looking for new areas or new sources of revenues beyond just filling scripts in your pharmacy.
Yeah, and that one question that's come through was, does the 10% include owner's salary? Yes, it does. In fact, typically owner salaries we see at less than 3% of gross accrued revenues. And I'm talking about a W-2 gross accrued revenue. I'm not talking about payroll taxes, which should be 0.9 of 1%. Healthcare, typically 1/2 of the healthcare is typically paid by most pharmacists now for the employees only. And so if your benefit packages are far in excess of that, you probably are out of line what's going on within the industry trends, or you're taking some of your margin dollars and allocating that to your employees, which obviously you have that choice to do that. Also, one other quick thing, because I don't see any other questions, and you certainly will and are able to go out here and put a question in. Captive insurance for some of the larger pharmacy groups. If you're not taking a look at captive insurance or don't know what we're talking about, you might want to do a Google search on captive insurance company for pharmacies, because this is a very hot topic today for those that are paying a lot of premium dollars, especially for those groups that are paying more than $50,000 combined insurance, excluding health coverage. It's far and above a topic that we can't get into today. It's too complex, but it is something that a lot of pharmacies are beginning to use, and some very tax advantageous laws reflecting that. So, Scott, is there anything else that you want to add to what we have talked about today?
Actually, there is. We also go to accounting trade shows as well. So, you know, what's going on in the accounting space as well with the technologies, with the streamlining, the accounting processes, et cetera, that certainly those same tools can be applied to pharmacies and what you're doing at your pharmacy or how you're handling your accounting. So hopefully you have, or your CPA has started to implement those technologies. If not, it's certainly heading that way. Actually, it's already there with the accounting side. So, but you know, there are some accounting things out there that hopefully you're implementing as well in your pharmacy. And that includes benchmarking as well. There's programs or software out there that allows our firm to benchmark across all our pharmacy clients. You can log in and see exactly where you stand compared to your peers on countless key performance indicators, margins, payroll as a percent of revenue, et cetera. So there's accounting technologies out there as well, and that ties back into just the technologies piece we talked about earlier.
And one last piece I would mention to you, if you haven't had a chance to go to our website, which is Sykes-CPA.com, we have hundreds of videos that we have produced out there on our website. We update those about every 2 weeks or so. They're typically 3 to 6 minutes in length on very pharmacy-specific topics. You need to avail yourself to that education that's available to you at no cost. I think there's some tremendous information out there that can help you in a whole host of these areas. And lastly, if you have, and Scott, I don't know if you have, is there a next slide on this?
No, this is it.
Okay. We didn't put our phone numbers up there, but you're certainly welcome to reach out and call us. Go back to that slide. Go back to that slide.
There we go.
Yeah, right there. Those are our direct numbers. You're free to reach out to either one of us. Those are our emails. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, whatever the case may be. But we would love to answer any questions that you have, talk to you about what your needs are. Let's see if I have any other questions here before we let you guys go. Okay. Do you favor QuickBooks Desktop hosted or QuickBooks Online? That's a really good question. We actually are having clients using both. We were pretty much entirely using a QuickBooks hosted environment through rightnetworks.com. We've been watching QuickBooks Online, or as QBO as it's called, develop. It's still developing. It's a totally new and different technology. It's a technology a lot of millennials can gain access to and understand probably much quicker than boomers my age can. Both are fine products. We use both with our pharmacies, but we are trending to move more and more of our clients to the QBO platform, primarily because they have the capability to attach to so many other outside third-party cloud-based softwares that can make your entire accounting process very efficient. So I think in 2 or 3 years, the hosting environment will probably be somewhat passe, and everything will be in the QBO online arena. However, there's still some enhancements that Intuit needs to make. Hopefully they will. One of those enhancements is in the reporting area. And obviously for larger groups of pharmacies, ones that have multiple entities, ones that have requirements for balance sheets and P&L on each pharmacy, they may be in a completely different situation. I might also add, if you're thinking about adding pharmacies, I would highly recommend you put a pharmacy in an entity by itself. It's obviously easier to add a pharmacy to an existing entity. You don't have to go through all the setup processes. But down the road, you're going to eventually want to probably bring a minority shareholder into play, or a PIC and a partial ownership. You may want to sell one pharmacy, not the whole group, and it becomes very problematic when that occurs. So you need to be thinking ahead 5 to 10 years from when you open or purchase a new pharmacy. I might also add really quickly that purchasing assets is obviously a very important way to buy pharmacies this day and time. But there are also a couple of techniques where you can buy the common stock of an entity, get the necessary legal protections, and they're actually treated as if you have bought the assets, but you're buying the legal entity all by itself. So these are some very specialized things that we deal with in the transition arena with pharmacies. So that's a lot of information in 30 minutes. Again, we didn't want to hold you. We wanted to answer your questions. I think we've answered all the questions that are out here. Hold on, maybe one more here. Let's see. I think that's got it. So, Rachel, I think that's all we really wanted to go over today. And if there's any way we can help anybody, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and be happy to help in any way.
Right, thank you, everyone, for attending, and Ollin and Scotty for presenting. And join us again in a couple months for another educational webinar.